yesterday, we continued on with our lecture. We talked about remaining fit to drive. What were we more worried about? Mental, right? Because physically, if you have issues, there's ways around it, right? But the biggest physical issue we talked about was losing your capability to stay awake, whether it's from medicine, conditions, things such as that. So mental capabilities. Then we talked about classifications. You guys are going for the Class D based on the weight. Anything bigger would be a different type of license. Class L is moped, Class M is motorcycle, special classes there. Then we talked about hazardous materials, how they have to follow special rules, some special permits. We talked about the RDP, the bad device, occupational, family, restricted CDL, what that is, probation, why that's a good thing, and then restricted local license. IDs, some exemptions to an Illinois license, some special services, what the CDL program is. Talked about bribery, organ tissue donor, which I said is 16. Voter registration is 18. Selective service is typically upon graduation, the draft. What the vision screening consists of, what the written exam is, what the driving exam is, the GDL, the permit phase, the initial phase, and the full phase, and how if you get in trouble, you get stuck in that phase. Parental consent, teen driving guide, and then alcohol consumption and the penalties involved with that, which leads us today to Chapter 4, traffic laws. All right, who enacts laws?
Police.
The police, right? But who sets them up, though? Who? Government. But federal government makes all the laws for roads? They probably make very few. Does each state enact their own laws? What about each city? Does every city have similar laws but different? Do we all have different curfews, different speed limits? Are they similar? Close, but they're different, right? So every state you go to, every city you go to, do you have to pay attention? Because it's not just exactly the same. That is the one beauty that I do like about, using like a MapQuest app when I'm driving somewhere, is it typically tells you what the speed limit is, where you are at that moment. So if you're on a long stretch of interstate, because the interstate can change from like 55 to 60 to 65 to 70, it kind of jumps around. It's nice to be able to ask the person next to you, hey, how fast am I supposed to be going? Because you feel like all of a sudden you're passing a bunch of people, and you ask them that, and it goes, oh, it went from 70 to now it's 60. So it's important to know those changes when they do happen. What in the heck just happened there? That went back to the very first slide. What was that, like 40? What was that we on? Next one there was the safety belt law. This is the old school law. Read it with me. Safety belts must be worn by all drivers and front seat passengers 8 and over, even if the vehicle has airbags. A child up to 16 not in a safety seat must wear a safety belt regardless of the location in the vehicle. All passengers under age 19 with a driver. Is anybody else getting confused? You see the issue here? That's the old school law. It's like algebra. It's like, what? A plus B, C, D, Z, X, Y's, and Z's? Like, what's going on with this thing? What's the new law? Everybody, everywhere. Front seat, back seat, age, does it matter? No. Have to have safety belts on. Whose responsibility is it to make sure people are belted up? The driver of the vehicle, right? So before you go, should you make sure everybody has their belts on? If they don't, should you go? Theoretically, no, right? Don't go anywhere. If you've got some stubborn friend that won't listen, don't go nowhere, kick them out, right? Because if something bad happens, is it on you? Probably so. Especially for younger kids. Because cop pulls you over. You have younger kids in the car with you that are not buckled up. Are those younger kids going to get tickets, or are you going to get tickets? You will. Just the opposite. If I'm driving with you and I don't have my safety belt on, could I get a safety belt ticket for that? Yes, because I'm an adult. Does that make sense? So when you're dealing with younger kids, don't go anywhere until they're buckled up the correct way. Next thing is safety belt fitting. Okay, now we're talking about how to wear the safety belt. Correct way to wear a safety belt is across your hips and across your shoulder bone. Why are we on bones? Why do we want to make sure that it's around hard, solid bones? What'd you say? That way it doesn't hurt you, right? Is it still going to hurt you? Yes. If you get in an accident, the safety belt is going to inflict damage on you because it's going to get very tight and it's trying to stop your body. But if it's on a bone and a bone, it might break a bone. But if it's going across your neck, it might break your neck. If it's across your belly, it might break your spine. Are those good things to break? Yes or no? Probably not, right? Not the best thing to break. So we want to make sure we're wearing them correct. That's why kids wear booster seats, right? Because if you put a kid in a seat with a normal safety belt, it's going to go right across their midsection. And that's no good, right? We want to boost them up so that it's laying across their bones of their hip. Another thing that I do see people do is they'll grab the shoulder part and put it behind them. Is that okay? No. It ruins the purpose, right? Because the purpose is it's supposed to slow you down before you hit head first into the airbag, the dashboard, whatever it may be. You won't survive that. So we always wear it correct. There was a bad story about, it's almost been 5+ years ago. There was a group of football players. Football games were usually Friday nights. Their game was Saturday that week, so they went to the neighboring town to watch a football game on Friday. Game got over, they jumped in their vehicle, they took off down the road, boom, head-on collision. All 4 of them had safety belts on, all 4 survived. Did they have some broken hips and bones and stuff like that? Sure, but they're alive, right? They hit head-on with a truck with 2 kids from that town. Both of them died. What didn't they do?
Buckle up.
They did not buckle up. 4 lived, 2 died. Can I be any more obvious than that? Usually when I tell these stories, some kid in the back's got his hand raised, and he's like, and I'm like, what? And he's like, well, my uncle's cousin's brother, sister's mom's dad, sister's dog, sister's friend got killed by a safety belt. What do you think about that? I'm like, cool story, bro. Are there more stories where they save you? Yes. Are there instances where the safety belt can hurt you? Yeah, I get it. But most time it's going to help you. What is it designed to do? Keep you where? In your seat, in the car. Most of the time when people die in a crash, what do we hear in the story? Ejected from vehicle, right? Thrown from vehicle. Because if your vehicle starts to spin violently, is it going to throw you around pretty good? If you ain't buckled up, you're not staying in there. So you get thrown through windshield, through wherever, car rolls on you, you're not going to live. Whereas if you stay inside that car, they're designed to crumple around you. I mean, they can look terrible, and you'll survive. There was like 3 years ago a professional boxer that was going like 130 miles an hour like an idiot. Wrecked his car, but he had a safety belt on. It was like a $500,000, $1 million like Lamborghini thing. And the car, by the time it stopped, because they had like a video of it, there was like nothing left. Guess what he did last year? Still boxing. Why? Stayed where? In the car. Yes, he was an idiot, driving way too fast, intoxicated, all the above bad things. But had the safety belt on, did its job, it kept him in the car, kept him alive. that ain't on, is he alive? There's no way, right? At those speeds, doing those kind of things. So that's why it's important to wear those things correct. Because you might run into a person like that on the roadway, right? Because can you be the most perfect driver in the history of the world and still get hurt? Because somebody hits you? So that's why even though you're trying to do everything perfect, there's a lot of idiots out there that are going to get you in trouble. Airbags were the next thing that happened, right? So we had the introduction of safety belts, and they did a great job. Then they're like, okay, how can we make this safer? So we said, let's make airbags. Do they help? Yeah, but what do they need? Do they need a safety belt with them? Because if I don't have my safety belt on and I slam on the brakes, this is science. My car's going 60. What happens to my body when I slam on the brakes? It goes forward at 60 miles an hour, right? Objects in motion stay in motion until something acts on them. So if I'm moving 60 miles an hour and I don't have a safety belt to pull me back, my body keeps going at 60. How fast does that airbag have to deploy? Pretty fast? So let's say it's deploying at 60 to 80 miles an hour. Is that good? If I meet my airbag while deploying, is it going to kill me? Pretty good chance. So as good as this thing is, it has to be used with the safety belt. Otherwise, you continue to and hit. It's supposed to, safety belt slows me down, deploys, then I hit a fluffy pillow, right? Then it is safer. They got airbags on the side now. They're starting to build them in the back seats. It's getting to the point where the whole car it just poofs up. Safety belt on, you're going to live if you stay in there. What if I am a short person and I have to get really close to the steering wheel to drive? Is that dangerous if it's got an airbag? Should I try to turn it off if I can? In that case, is the airbag being off safer? Yes, so if that's an option, do that. If I'm in the front seat and I'm not strong enough to deploy the bag because of my weight, where should I probably be? In the back. So that's why I like the kids. It says 12, they recommend. I think it's 8 technically you can be in the front, right? 8 or 80 pounds maybe, whatever comes first. But if you're 10 years old and you only weigh 70 pounds, where should you be? Probably the back seat for your own safety. Speed limits. 65 on the interstate, which is actually wrong because now it's 70 is the max in Illinois, right? So it could be 70, it could be 65, could be 50, could be 55, 50. It just depends on where you are, right? You get into the more populated areas like Belleville's, Edwardville, Collinsville, they go a little slower there. When you get out here by us where there's not much, they'll have us go 70. 55 unless posted otherwise, 30 in town unless posted otherwise, 15 in an alley. Why is it slower in an alley? There could be people, kids running in the backyard. Are they narrow? Loose gravel? Are you going to stop fast? So let's go slow. Same way in school zone. 20 when children are present. So that would be if I'm going past a school on a Saturday and there's kids on the playground. Should we slow down? I would, right? Because our children present. So as you go, slow down when you see kids. If I'm driving past a city park with children present, should I slow down? Yes or no? Yes. That's not even the school zone. I'm just telling you, when you see kids playing outside, slow down. Because is there a chance one of those kids could run out in front of you? And you're preparing for that possibility. Okay, question of the day. Gage is driving He's going 55. In a 55. Can he get a speeding ticket? Yes or no? Raise your hand if you think no. 55 in a 55. Raise your hand if you say no, he cannot get a speeding ticket. Go. Raise them high. You'd say yes? You got to give an answer. Yes or no? Are you yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, here, yes. Are you a no? So raise it up. Are you yes or no? Put it up. Sam, are you yes or no? So you're a yes? No. I don't know is not an answer. This is the I don't know zone. Yeah, so you're no? Mr. Malloy, are you sleeping or are you a yes or a no? Is he out again? Goodness gracious. Dude sleeps all the time. Okay, so most of us are no, except for you. You're yes. Why are you yes? Don't say I don't know. Don't say I don't know. I don't like that. Yes or no? You said yes. Why did you say yes? No, I said he's going 55 and 55. You changing your answer to no? Yes or no? So you're no now? So we're all no's? Answer is yes. Now I ask you why could he get a ticket for going 55 in a 55?
It's close to over.
Nope. Anybody else got a guess? What? Nope. You trying to read in the book back there?
Trying to find like a solution.
Oh, okay. So nobody has a guess? You're getting there, but why could you get a ticket for that? If it's recommended you go 55 and he's going 55, why can't he get a speeding ticket? No. What do you got?
I'm not finding anything so far.
I didn't ask you. I asked him. You don't know? Okay. Definition of speed limit. Speed limit is the suggested speed for the best conditions. Now, why can he get a ticket?
Maybe the three other vehicles in front of him.
Nope.
Well, yes, maybe it's like the weather, snowing.
It's snowing, right? So let's say he's going 55 and a 55, and there's 3 foot of snow on the ground. Is that dangerous? Because the speed limit is for the best conditions. Do we understand? So if snow or ice exists, should you be going that fast? Does this make sense now? So yes, it's called driving too fast for the conditions. Does it make sense? So it's a thing. The next thing I want to mention is country roads. Country road speed limit is 55. But what if I don't know the country road? Sorry. Should I slow down? What if the road's terrible? Should I slow down? What if the weather's terrible? What if, I don't know it, the weather's bad and the road's bad? Should I go slow or turn around, right? Does this make sense about country roads, though? You go what the country road tells you can do. If I know it, it's a good one, good weather, go 55. Bad road, slow down, because they're all different. Construction, get off the phone, slow down, and pay attention. Keys. Big fines if you're caught on a phone. Other issue is this. I used to work on the road. I wasn't like a big construction worker, but I worked for a township where we just worked on like country roads. And we're going around in the summer patching holes. So you take asphalt, you pack it in a hole, move to the next one, repeat, repeat, repeat. It's a great day. It's fun. No, it's not. But I'm doing this, and it's me and a couple other guys, let's say, and their normal day is working on a country road. They work there all the time. So they'll say, car's coming. Guess what I did? I moved. They would just keep working with their head down. Why? It's their job, right? So they even pay attention to what other cars are doing. See the issue here, though? They're not looking out for other cars. So we got to help them out at times and pay attention to what they're doing. Because when it's your job, you just do it, right? You don't think about it. They're just working on the road. That's their job. So let's help them out. Let's pay attention. What about emergency vehicles? What do we got to do? What do we got to do on an emergency vehicle?
I think if it's a ambulance or stuff, you like if you're on the highway and you're in the fast lane, you gotta move over to the fast lane if I'm correct, or some area like that.
No, not that one either. Don't put it down. Sorry, go ahead.
It might be if a emergency vehicle such as an ambulance or police car is going there.
What do I got to do?
You gotta slow down and move over.
Slow down and move over. Do you have to stop?
No,
Why not? Why don't we want to stop?
because cars are gonna be migrating too.
Yeah, stopping could be dangerous depending on how fast we're going, right? So we want to slow down, pull over, stop if you can. You don't have to, though, right? Slow down, pull over, stop if you can. It's a law. It's called the Scots Law. What about just a regular car on the side of the road? Should we slow down and move over? Yes. Now we're talking about cars pulled over on the sides, right? Like if there's an emergency car on the side of the road, we pull over the other way, right? So when in doubt, get out of their way. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Don't just swerve out of their way because there could be a car in your blind spot. What about a school crossing? Again, slow down. Everybody remember Miss Jolene from the junior high? Janitor, Miss Jolene? Crossing guard? She's actually considered a cop when she does that. Because she has a stop sign in her hand, you have to follow what she says, right? If you ignore her, what happens? Did you just ignore a cop? Not good, right? So make sure you follow what they tell you to do. She walks out, you stop. Otherwise, you get reported, big tickets. Get off the phone, too. Funeral processions. In a funeral procession, we have to allow them to go, right? So if one car goes, all cars go. They go through a stoplight, one car goes, all cars go. So what do we need to be? We need to be patient and respectful. Should we try to pass somebody in a funeral procession? Why not? Could there be 60 cars in that funeral procession? And we'd have to pass 60 cars? Is that safe? No. So be respectful. Don't pass. Let them go. Right away. So everybody flip to page 26 in their books. What does right away mean, first of all? Somebody give me a guess answer on what right away means. You know what it means?
Is it where, like, if it's like somebody walking or on a bike, they get to go first, but then if it's two cars, whoever gets there first?
Well, you're saying a whole bunch of stuff, but you said the right words. Who gets to go first, right? You're right. But you're saying a bunch, but you got it right. Who gets to go first? That's right of way, correct? So when we say who has the right of way, we're basically saying who gets to go first. Now, what's the best way to learn this stuff? See it, right? So practice driving or sit in the front seat and pay attention to what parent, guardian, whoever's doing, and then ask questions like, hey, why'd you let them go? Why didn't you get to go? Ask those questions, because then you learn crazy stuff again, right? Ask a question and learn. I'll go through these quick here. Right away on page 26. A driver must yield the right of way to other drivers, bicyclists, or pedestrians when making a right turn on red. The right turn on red is legal so long as you stop and check first. You got to make sure no cars, no people are in our way. If there's people coming, they have right of way. Intersections, left turns, four ways, first person to get there, flashing yellow, side roads, yields. Okay, so these are just rattle off. After a green light is a tricky one. Because if I ask you guys what green means, what would we all say? Go, right? We'd all just yell, go. Is that what it really means? Green means go? What does it mean? Go if you can, if clear. Because if it turns green and there's cars already in the intersection, I can't go, can I? Because if I hit them, whose fault is it? Mine, because the intersection was not clear. So remember that. From an alley, make sure you stop. Cross traffic at a T and when approaching emergency vehicles. A driver may not enter an intersection or drive within a marked crosswalk or on a railroad crossing. What they mean by that is you never stop on a railroad. If I have to stop, I stop before the railroad or after the railroad. Why don't I want to stop on the railroad? Train's going to run you over possibly, right? So never stop on the tracks. Pedestrians. A driver must come to a complete stop and yield when a pedestrian is in a marked crosswalk or even an unmarked crosswalk. When in doubt, pedestrians always have right-of-way, correct? What's jaywalking? Illegally crossing, right? Not walking across walks, crossing where you shouldn't cross. Even when they do that, do they still have right-of-way? Yes. Okay? So they always have right-of-way. So we see a pedestrian, we need to stop. That's pretty much it for those. Like I said, they're hard to read them all. Passing, legal or illegal? Passing legal or illegal? We got faith. Don't turn around and ignore me. Try to turn away and ignore me. What'd you say? Legal. But could it be illegal? What would make it illegal? Solid lines or signs, right? Is passing always the best option? No, and I'll give you guys some stories. When I drive to work, I tend to get passed because as a driver's ed instructor, do I want to get a bunch of speeding tickets? That'd be pretty bad, right? What happened today, Mr. Barr? Oh, I got pulled over for speeding again. You know, normal day. I don't like to say that. So therefore, I get passed quite often. And a lot of times when I get passed, I have to slow down, otherwise there's going to be a head-on collision right next to me. And then I continue driving to Carlisle, and I'll hit the stop sign here right in town, and guess who's right in front of me? The person that passed me. So they passed me, they almost died, and they gained 1 car length. Is that worth it? Pretty stupid, isn't it? So on a short run, don't pass unless you can really do it. It ain't worth it, okay? So just remember that if it's not going to gain you that much, it's not worth dying over, right? So only pass when you know you can do it. It's going to be easily done, no hesitations. When not to pass would be on no passing zones like we talked about, hills and curves, within 100 feet of an intersection or bridge, construction, school, or stopped. Pretty obvious stuff, right? Don't pass in those situations. Lane usage. When you're driving on a road, you should tend to be on the right side of the lane. Why? What's on the other side? What's on the left side? People going the other way, right? So we tend to want to stay away from that. The other thing that's nice is by staying to the right, does it allow people to pass us easier because they can see better? Yes. So it's for our safety. Slow vehicles use the right lane except for when passing or turning. Do not weave from lane to lane. Weaving from lane to lane means you're constantly passing, which means you're probably doing what?
DUI?
No, if we're constantly passing, what does it mean? Does it mean we're probably driving too fast? Slow down. Weaving, bad driving, may be DUI. Traffic should follow the path of direction except for emergency vehicles, and even that is slightly untrue, because despite what we see on movies where cops go against traffic and there's cars blowing up everywhere, that's movies, right? In real life, they're not supposed to do that, and they don't. They should stop that chase. Do not drive across medians or controlled access roads. So you know on interstates where it's got the little turnarounds, and there's a big thing that says, like a flash through it, says no unauthorized vehicles. That's not for us to turn around, is it? If you miss your exit on the interstate, what are you supposed to do? Go to the next exit and come back, right? Don't go on those little turnarounds. Those are for cops in construction. Signaling, blinkering, otherwise known as here, 100 feet in town, 200 feet out of town. Why is there a difference? Anybody know? Why do we blinker 100 feet in town and 200 feet out of town?
Is it because you're going slower in town?
Yes, speed, right? Because the faster I go, the earlier I need to blinker because I'm covering ground pretty fast, right? The other issue would be in town, are there a lot of places to turn if I blinker 200 feet in advance? So they won't know where I'm turning. Can you ever blinker too much, really? No. So if you ever have to ask yourself, because in the driver's ed car, people ask me like, Mr. Barr, do I need to blinker here? If you ask me that, should you blinker? Yeah. When in doubt, blinker. The signals are usually nowadays on the front of the car, the mirrors of the car, and the back of the car. It's well known that we're turning. Hand signals are the old school method. We don't really need to use those anymore. That's where you would stick your hand out the window, going left, going right, and I'm stopping. Who still needs to do those? Anybody think of anybody that should still use the hand signals? Motorcycles, who else? What's an unpowered motorcycle? Bicyclists should do it. Who else? What about farmers on tractors? Should they try to use it if they're visible? What if I'm on a four-wheeler, side-by-side? Should I do anything I can to make myself more visible and let people know what I'm doing? So that's what I would say, yes. Use them when you need them. That's where we got in the last class, and that's where we'll stop today.